Hello, my dear church boys, and welcome back to St. Robert's Daygame Pickup Podcast. And in this podcast episode, I'm chatting with Mr. Slim about his first ever Daygame trip. He went from Dubai to Russia to Moscow and St. Petersburg to try how it is to daygame Russian girls outside of Dubai. Because Dubai has a lot of Russian girls, but most of them have sugar baby vibes. And now he went to Russia to see what's the difference. And if you are part of our group chat, then you know who Mr. Slim is because he posted a lot of stories in the group chat and his lair reports there. So in this podcast, he talks about tips and tricks that work for him to get the success with Russian girls in Russia. But a few housekeeping items before we begin. First of all, I put out a lot of content, and a lot of that content doesn't even make it to the podcast or to the YouTube channel, just because I do a lot of content on other people's YouTube channels and podcasts, etc. So if you want to make sure you don't miss out on that content, on those tips and everything else, make sure you are on my mailing list. I send out a weekly newsletter summarizing everything I put out, and then you can choose what you want to listen to, what you want to watch, and what isn't interesting to you. And you can do so by going to strobert.blog, that is strobert.blog, and filling any of the forms on the website. And you will also get a link to join our Telegram Daygame Church group chat, where we have around 200 guys from all over the world. And one important thing about the group chat, there is no mental masturbation in the group chat. It's 100% action driven. So some examples of the things I do for other channels is I recently did a live video on frame control with James Tusk with some very practical tips on how to control the frame in dates or in sets, etc. And also recently a cute Russian girl interviewed me on her YouTube channel about dating for nomads and expats, and we're doing another interview with her on her YouTube channel in a few days about dating in Serbia. It's a video I wanted to do anyways, so I just decided I'm not gonna make it on my YouTube channel, I'm gonna make it on her YouTube channel. Plus, tomorrow I'll be interviewed on BJJ Eastern Europe podcast, which is one of the world's leading podcasts on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but don't worry, we'll be talking about dating there. I'm doing things like that all the time, and they're not on my YouTube channel, they're not on my podcast, but I simply send out the links to everyone on my mailing list once a week. And if you don't like what I send out, just unsubscribe at any time. Actually, if you stop opening my emails, I will unsubscribe you to keep my mailing list healthy. Right now, I'm in Serbia. I've been here for a month, and it seems I've cracked the Serbian code, and I'm doing pretty well with the girls here. I'll be coaching one guy here in 2 weeks, and Mr. T is also coming over, by the way, to Serbia in 2 weeks. So if you want to get some one-on-one day game infield coaching, come over to Serbia. It's a great city for day game coaching. It's not that great for solo trips if you aren't advanced level yet, but definitely great for coaching. Girls are hot and they're fairly receptive to game if you know how to adjust your approach to them. And I'll be in Riga, Latvia all of June. If you are from Riga or if you will be there, I have one coaching spot available there. But after that, in July, me, Mr. T, Mario, Paolo, David, and Mr. Slim, who I'm interviewing on this podcast, we're all going on a big day game trip. We're going to a place with very hot girls. It's a bit of a party city, but the location will stay secret and will be known only to us and a few students I'm taking there with me. We'll be there for all of the month of July, at least me, and everyone decides for how long they want to go there. It's outside of Schengen, so you won't need a Schengen visa if you're coming from the USA. And I'll take 4 students there with me. 3 of the spots are already taken. 2 guys are coming from the USA for coaching. 1 guy is coming from Germany. But the 4th spot is still free. Well, 1 guy wants it, but he's been on a fence for a few days, and since he hasn't prepaid it yet, the spot is available first come, first go type of situation. The best thing about the trip is that we'll be there for the whole month of July, and you can come whenever you want and stay for however long you want, and we will spread out the coaching sessions over the time. That way it means we'll do a day of coaching and then I'll tell you, okay, now work on these things for like 2 days on your own. Then we will do a day of coaching and then I'll again say, okay, now work on these things for a few days on your own. And that way you get to integrate whatever we learn during the coaching sessions, you will get to integrate it on your own, and that's a way better way to learn. It's a much better way to learn Daygame. So if you want to join us there, send me an email to robert@strobert.blog. It is robert@strobert.blog, and I'll send you the prices, and if you want to come with us, you can join us. Hey guys, so here we are with Mr. Slim, who just returned from his first ever day game trip from Russia. He just spent 2 weeks day gaming in country with some of the best girls, but who are known with having quite a bit of frame. So why don't you introduce yourself, Mr. Slim?
Okay, so I read the game pretty much after a breakup, and when I broke up with my first serious girlfriend in university. Just did one approach in like 2 years in night game, and the first approach I did, I got a number. I used to always sort of be someone who used to be the ladies' man in college, but that sort of goes away when you get older. And then I came across. Am I allowed to say names on this channel?
Whose names? Oh yeah, if it's material, whatever. Yeah.
So I came across Rouge and Tom's material, like a podcast I was just listening to, and that's when I got introduced to the concept of day game. I was like, wow, this shit's awesome. So the first approach I did, just with this was back in 2018. It turned out to be a kiss close, like a same day kiss close. And naturally, like I've always been good with women, naturally. So the approach anxiety, etc., was not really that much of a big issue. I started properly day gaming and recording my stats, following a proper structure and routine when lockdown happened last year in March. And from that time till now, I've gotten something like 14 to 15 lays. And yeah.
Over how many sets is that?
Or something like 900 to 1,000 sets.
Okay, so something like 1 out of 60-ish.
Yeah,
I think that would come out
900 to 1,100. I've just begun to keep stats over the past 6 months, like properly.
Okay, yeah. Okay. If you like, give us a ballpark idea how old you are. Like, is it like mid-20s, late 20s, 30s, mid-30s, 40s?
Mid-20s.
Mid-20s.
Yeah.
Okay, so why the heck did you decide that you need to go on a day game trip when traveling is so hard and everyone is wearing a mask and COVID tests and blah blah blah, all the other like nonsense reasons guys give for not doing day game and traveling and whatever?
So first of all, I think so. I mean, I started gaming when lockdown happened in the first place. So I work in the health and fitness industry, so I understand how COVID health, etc., works. So I pretty much am always healthy. So COVID didn't really scare me that much. But then I neglected it a little too much, and I gamed so hard that I ended up getting COVID. If that's the case. But while I was in COVID, and anybody who tells you that COVID masks, etc., is there, it does affect your game. I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't really affect the fact that your stats will slightly drop, etc. But that's no fucking reason to not game. Anybody who tells you that is full of shit, and he's lying and he's scared. So yeah, he needs to just to grow up. He needs to grow a pair, to be honest.
Yeah.
So while I got COVID, I was in isolation for 10 days. And even around that time, I was reading about game. I was reading about other things, but I made it a point to make sure that I develop a game in every possible way. And after that, there's this usual thing that after you get COVID, your chances of getting COVID is like close to 0.099%, you know. I was like, okay, let me just use this opportunity properly and just go out for a day game trip. Fuck it, you know.
Oh, so you thought there's no way you can get it? No, there's no way you can give it to someone. So fuck it. Day game trip is a safe thing.
And I would even do the same, that even if I wouldn't have gotten COVID, because before that I was planning for Serbia or Ukraine.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I just checked out entry requirements for Russia, and they don't seem very welcoming to people from other countries at the moment.
Yep.
COVID-wise, it seemed pretty really locked down. But I assume you got in by why? Because you had COVID, or because where you're from, or why? Or was it an
Well, no,
invitation or something?
no, where I'm from, like the passport that I hold, like our country and Russia actually have like really good relationships. So actually, it's quite easy for me to get in. Um, so I got like an emergency visa, and that's about it.
Okay. So you went there for 2 weeks, and where did you go?
I went to Moscow and St. Petersburg.
Okay. So first was Moscow.
Yeah, first was Moscow.
Oh, so walk us through it. You arrive at the airport. How was it? What's the vibe like? What are the people like? What were the first impressions you got there?
So now the place where I live, I'm from Dubai, and
Oh, okay. I thought it's a secret.
no, it is what it is. Can't really just reveal my name, but other than that, yeah, that's
Of
fine. Um,
course.
so I'm from Dubai, like, and over here, usually, um, hot girls are of those sugar daddies or rich businessmen, or they're usually couples who come from Soviet Union countries or Europe, you know. So far, I was just used to gaming those sort of girls, and it was normal for me to go like, okay, she's not opening up that much. But when I went to Russia, um, the first impression, even at the airport, was holy shit. I feel like I'm in a kid in a candy store because every second you see a beautiful girl. And no, but after like my perspective has changed right now. After coming back from Russia, I'm like, so what? You're beautiful. Like, is your pussy made of gold? To be honest, what's special about you? Like, so my frame has become into that. Like, I'm become desensitized to beauty from before and after sort of a thing. Um,
you
but yeah,
you
but
will
like,
face you will I'll tell you later what's the challenge you'll face, but remind me to tell you that later.
yep, yep. And so the first impression when I reached Moscow, I reached in the night, and I straight up went in a cab and I uh, went to my Airbnb. Like my Airbnb was like a small hotel inn sort of a thing, like a roadside motel sort of a thing.
Hmm.
And even the fucking receptionist at the hotel was hot. Um, and I was like, fuck it, let me just hit on the receptionist as well. I told her you look really nice and feminine, and she smiled. I'm like, okay, you know what, that's awesome. And I just slept that night. Next morning, I woke up. It turned out that I was drunk when I landed in Moscow, so I took the wrong bags from the airport, so I had to go back to the airport to collect it. Well, when I came back, I just immediately had a shower and just immediately hit the streets where exactly I was. Now, before going to Moscow, I did my research properly. I listened to a couple of podcasts from Tom. I heard your podcast on how to deal with Russian girls, and I looked at Mark Zolo's location, like where to stay, etc. So I was staying right in the center of Moscow, and the streets were like really, really packed. Um, Started approaching. Now the thing is that you really need to have like a strong front stop, but I've got an ethnic look. I've got like a South American Mexican sort of a look. I can't really reveal my nationality on the podcast. Um, so even if I front stop, it creates like a massive spotlight sort of an effect. But if you come from a European country or if you're Slavic, then by all means go in front stop. It's not going to attract that much of attention from others on the street. Um, so yeah, that's what I did. It was a mixture of side stops by touching on the shoulders and front stops. Ran the usual model. The language barrier is too high. So you got to speak to them like you're speaking to a retarded kid in English, and you got to use like extremely baby stacks, like you look like a cat, or you look relaxed, or you look like you're in a hurry. Whatever the baby stacks, you can't really be cocky and have like banter and humor like the way they have it in London. And the sub communication needs to be extremely strong because I speak English, I don't speak Russian. So that place really taught me how to get laid just through sub communication, like body language, eye contact, keyno, and things like that. And yeah, that's
So
about
how
it.
were they reacting when you were stopping them on those streets?
I now I was getting they were quite happy. Like some of them were like, "Oh, leave me alone," but most of them were like usually like really feminine and really they were like they were happy that I actually stopped them. They were like responding quite positively. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, what was the progression in Moscow like? Were you straight like opening and getting numbers, and numbers were responding and coming out, and all spreading their legs for you, or what was the challenges, or
Yep.
what's the story there?
So the first 2 days when the first 2 days, now I was listening to this on a podcast as well. That whenever you go out for a day game trip, the first 3 or 4 days, your vibe is going to be really, really high. And that's when you really need to number farm and collect a lot of numbers. And from those numbers, you want to convert them into dates and leads. So I just went with the mindset, oh my God, I just need to number farm. First 2 days, I began to number farm. And here's what I noticed. I got a lot of numbers. Collecting numbers has never been an issue for me. But they were not responding because I was usually in that banter, hi-fi, uh, comedy, dancing monkey sort of a vibe, which probably works in Dubai, which probably works in other countries, but not in a place like this.
It probably didn't work if you weren't ground. Like you can even do that shit, but you still have to have a real conversation and ground, and you definitely need grounding in the serious topics with
Yep.
with former Soviet Union girls.
Yep. And the third day, I came back to my hotel after 2 days. I was like, fuck, there are no dates. There's nothing.
2 days
And
and no dates. That's a really shitty result. Oh my god. Oh my god. 2 days and no dates. Fuck this shit. Fuck day game.
no, it was like just me having high hopes because um, I was like, I'm gonna be here for like 12 days, so I just need to escalate the shit out of all my leads, which is not really a good strategy. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I was following that strategy, and then I came back home. I re-listened to all the podcasts. I just went through it again. I just read the books again. And there was one thing that I realized is I messaged you. I think I messaged
Yeah,
you,
I
and I
don't
messaged.
remember what you asked, but you did message me about something in Russia.
Yeah, I like fuck. I need help. Okay, what do I do? I told you like I don't. I give you a few details like this is what I do. This is what I don't do, and how do I actually
Oh, you
start
asked
this?
about you asked about pre-openers. So the pre-opener and a better pre-opener to use for Russian speakers, and
Yep,
best stacks to use in Moscow. Yeah,
yep,
and that's why I told you like speak super super extremely so slow with simple words, as few words as possible, etc.
yep. And I got that from you as well. And then I just messaged Tom as well, and you and Tom pretty much pointed out the same thing. Like keep it simple, extremely simple. Don't be so smiley all the time because over there they just usually smile only if there's an actual reason to smile compared to when you go to the States or when you go to the UK where everybody's smiling for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
Um, so the biggest difference I did was okay. I stopped the girl. There was no smile, and I was like, wait. I was not like wait. I was like, you stop, you wait. And I was like well grounded in my sets. It's more of like I was thinking like, yeah, I've got a dick. I'm attracted to her. I own this girl. So what? What's she gonna do about it? So I went with that mindset, and I started speaking really slowly, like you look really beautiful, because they understand beautiful, they understand
Yes,
cute
that's
and
one
nice.
word girls understand. Everywhere is beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, and um, and I've just brought up that side of me which usually does exist, that mindless sucker who's really headstrong and really direct and blunt. I do have that side. So I'm like, okay, if I actually game with this side, keep it real, no bullshit. You look really nice. You look like a cat, blah, blah. I can actually get it. So when I did that with less of a smile, it made a huge difference. And post the hook point, that's when I began to smile a little bit. And that's when she began to smile a little bit because that's a sincere conversation. And that was the few simple tweaks which made like a huge difference in the sets. And that's how my numbers became a bit more solid.
Okay, so you fixed your sets. You started getting numbers that started responding. What's happening after that?
Okay, so in the dates, sorry, someone is,
That's fine.
yeah. So in the dates, what happened? I went for 5 dates out of 96 approaches, and three of those dates were um, a free drink or free coffee or free lunch or free dinner sort of a thing,
Yeah.
which was quite frustrating. Uh, the first 2 days were quite frustrating. Then again, I went back home. Again, I listened to another podcast of how to deal with girls in former Soviet Union, and they in those podcasts they actually said like, you know what, don't be afraid to escalate really hard. Like make your intentions super clear so that if she if she comes back, she knows what she's coming back for. So I made my intentions super clear. All those 5 days, I tried to kiss those girls. Like I like fuck it,
Of course,
whatever. Yeah,
Russia.
yeah. And I was using Google Translate, and after the first 2 dates, which was like a crash and burn in sort of an English class, I I used this on Google Translate. I told them, you do realize that I'm trying to hit on you and I'm not trying to teach you English. So that's me setting the boundaries. That's me setting the frame right from the start, like 5 or 10 minutes inside the date. So yeah, that's what I pretty much did.
Okay. So you got 5 dates. Out of those five, several were just kind of girls were coming out for like a free coffee, a free drink, whatever.
Yeah.
That's actually one thing that I was Robbie Kramer, that the podcast came out, well, compared to when this comes out, it came out a week ago, and I was on his podcast today, and we were talking about how when you start traveling for Daygame, so when you're learning Daygame, you learn how Daygame works in the place in a city where you're daygaming,
Yeah.
and that's all good. But when you go to a new place, you kind of have to relearn how Daygame works a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you go to the next one and you relearn. And in each country, you kind of have to adjust to the new situation, the new dating model of that country. But also when you travel and each time you do a new city, you not only learn how Daygame works in that city, but you are learning to adjust to cities faster. So what I'm hearing is you were used to Daygame in Dubai and now you went to Russia and you kind of had to relearn some concepts of the Daygame. You had to learn Daygame you had to learn how Daygame works in a completely different environment from what you're used to. And it sounds like you did pretty well. So what happens after you realize that these girls are coming out for free drinks, and you realize you're going to have to set the frame? So what's happening later? How are the future numbers looking? How are the future dates looking?
So I got something like one lay, and I was almost about to get a second lay, but that shit doesn't count. So the one day which I got was same day lay, and this
Let's start with before we got to the lay, because the lay, before you got the lay, you had like several pools home, right? Didn't you?
full home. Let me just remember. No,
Like, yeah, because in
no
your
pull.
group chat you were telling all your stories. I thought you had some pools home. Okay, so tell the story about the same delay, which was a
Yep.
fun story.
So the same day lay was like when I was exhausted, I was drained, and I was like, "Fuck this! I'm going back home." And then I see this hot like 18-year-old, and I stop her, and we just smoke a cigarette, and then by then I knew the mall so well that I was like, "Let's go for a coffee." And she was hesitant. I'm like, "Let's go." But you don't ask, you tell in Russia, you tell in the former Soviet Union countries, or pretty much you tell everywhere. You don't even ask them, you just tell
Yeah.
them. Yeah. Um, take them for a coffee, and over there, like 5 minutes inside the coffee shop, I just set the frame like, um, even though I might be having coffee and speaking to you in English, I'm still trying to flirt with you through Google Translate. And this pretty much sets the frame right from the start. The sub communication was extremely strong, and mm, like I just set a timer. I'm just going to spend half an hour in this place, not more than that. There's nothing magical about it. Just build some rapport. Turns out that she has She doesn't really like her mom and is more used to her dad. And her dad lets her smoke cigarettes and is cool with the fact that she drinks and parties. So uh, you just want to sort of mimic the personality of her dad, like do the same thing. Yeah.
Did you give her a cigarette?
No, but then I told her, "You got a cigarette?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Let's smoke one together." So it's more like a daddy and daughter sort of a cigarette thing,
Yeah.
So that pretty much builds that thing in a subconscious. You build rapport on the basis of that, and then by then logistically I was quite sound. Now most of the people before they go to a country, they don't research about logistics. That's a big mistake. Research about your logistics before you go. So I knew that there was a restaurant and a hookah bar next to like which was 30 meters away from my Airbnb. I was like, let's go. She's like, well, I'm like, let's go for an adventure. And yeah, the mistake was that I should have caught a cab, but she's like, no, let's go by the metro. I'm like, cool. If it's feasible for me, fuck it, why not? So this was like a metro ride 10 minutes away. Then I take her
Actually,
to,
I remember you telling of this metro thing, and if she knows where you're going and you're going to a shisha place, and I don't think there's anything bad with taking a metro and her showing you how the metro works. As long as you don't as long as you keep the frame, there's nothing really wrong with that. I actually think
yep,
about it the other way around. I
yep,
like sometimes I will let a girl show me some amazing place, but I will still do some shit like, are you sure it's amazing? Are you sure I will like it? Like, okay, take me there if it's a really cool place. I
yep.
view it as their investment. They're doing something for me.
Oh,
But
okay.
then again, it's tricky and whatever. So, anyways, I interrupted you.
So
You were going to the
no,
metro.
no, that's cool, man. Please feel free to interrupt me. I can always pick some nuggets from you, man. Um, so what happened was while we were waiting at the metro metro station, underground, waiting for the metro, she, um, I'm like, okay, now you are showing me around. You must be the man. But let me just make it clear. And then I pull her hand out of the pocket and I just firmly grab her hand. I'm like, now I'm the man. So this is just like, it might sound cliche and cheesy, but this is just me resetting the frame technically because,
This is pretty cool. I like it as so there are different kind of parts when guys learn day game and when they learn these things. And being verbally direct with shit like this, I mean, it sounds cheesy, and maybe 6 months from now you will say, "Oh shit, that was cheesy." But at the same time, that is way better than not doing anything and giving up the frame. So if this helps you kind of show the frame and be the man by saying, "Okay, now I'm the man," and you call their hand and whatever,
yeah,
it's definitely. I think a lot of guys go through that, and it's a really cool phase. Just up like there are different ways to go from there, but it definitely has place in day game and in dating, and there's nothing wrong with it.
yep. And what happened was then I bounced into the shisha bar, the hookah bar, and everything is nice and relaxed. I could see that she was a bit anxious, a bit um, whatever nervous, and then I like this. If a girl is nervous, like it's really like it's not really important, but it's good if you point. It's like pointing out the elephant in the room or breaking the fourth wall. Are you nervous? And she's gonna reply yes, and then you go like why? And she's like I don't know, and then you qualify her by asking like are you nervous because I'm seducing you, etc. So around this time I ran this thing, got that out of the way before she points it out, so that it doesn't really come out later in the form of a last minute resistance. And then around this time what I said or what she said didn't really matter because the subcommunication in the dark seductive shisha bar was so strong that none of that shit mattered. I was holding her hand, and it was me like taking her out for an adventure because she is not allowed to go to a bar according to her ex-boyfriend or her mom. So this is like me showing her the adventure basically.
What time was
And
this?
this was around 8:30.
Yeah, so it's pretty late already, and does she live with her parents?
Yeah, she lives with her parents and she had to reach home by like 9 basically.
which is impossible pretty much. So so normally, okay, this is like a one-off scenario where it's late and she doesn't have a lot of time and you had to rush this. But what I would have done, or what I would have suggested someone does, is adding something between the coffee place and the shisha place.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's really fast, and like she knows you for 30 minutes and is going somewhere on a metro with you. I mean, it worked out, but it's a tricky thing. And I would have built a bit more comfort with maybe like another venue on like a almost like a first venue type, where it's not as seductive, not as dark, and you maybe go for a glass of wine and then go for a shisha. But since it's so late, that would kind of fuck it up. And I think, yeah, you did the best thing you could have done, given that it's late. She has to be home by whatever, but you had to deal with her being uncomfortable, and she was uncomfortable because it seems that it was just a little bit too fast, going from a place that's just a coffee shop in a mall, and then to a seductive environment in a shisha place that's dark, and where people that work there aren't necessarily all typical looking Russians.
Yeah, they were in fact Arabs, and I'm not Arab, but having lived in this country, I can speak Arabic.
Yeah. I didn't know we were talking about the language you speak. Yeah, so they spoke your language. You showed you kind of DHV'd with speaking with the whole, like knowing the people working there, speaking their language. So for a girl that knows you for maybe an hour, it can be scary going to a dark place where you are speaking with, everyone who works there. You speak the same language with them. That you speak the same language as they do, and they don't know, and she doesn't know the language. So it's like how it might feel, kind of risky, a bit scary for a girl.
Yeah.
So
And those people who actually spoke Arabic, they actually spoke to her in Russian, and they made her feel like she was comfortable. And yeah, that's about it.
that's perfect. So they were like winging you.
Yeah.
I hope you
Yeah,
tipped them well.
yeah, I did. And yeah, and then like from there, like while I was in the dark seductive place, I was grazing my hand behind her neck. I was kissing her, and when I actually made out with her, she was a fucking horrible kisser, but she didn't resist one bit. And I was like, okay, now it's time for the kill. Yeah. And then I bounced home with the excuse like I need to charge my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was hesitant to come, but then I was like, let's go. I just need to charge it for 10 minutes and then we'll leave. So that pretty much builds the fact like, okay, he's not risky. He's fine. And yeah, while we were upstairs, I just switch off. Like I just go inside my bathroom, not to jerk off, obviously, but just to give her some space. And that pretty much gives her the space. Like if she wants to leave, she can leave. If she wants to stay, she can stay. And around that time, I take my laptop, I keep my phone for charge, and I switched on the signature Vicky Cristina Barcelona, whatever.
Of course, every girl in the world has been fucked while watching Vicky Cristina Barcelona.
Yeah, yeah. And she's like, I got to leave by 9 p.m. I'm like, what the fuck are we going to watch Vicky Cristina Barcelona by 9 p.m.? But I've followed that routine so many times that I'm like, okay, let me just use it. I began kissing her. I began making out with her. No resistance, but little bit. Oh, okay, stop. Then I was like, you know what? I'm just closing my laptop and I'm just going all in with her.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
big ballsy move. Hand on a
Yeah,
dick.
yeah. I did that, and she didn't pull back. And then a girl cannot resist the fact when you kiss her on the neck and the shoulders. And I love kissing a girl on the shoulders. I did that, and boom, that was game over. And I just followed your. Tell me.
Had you used the hand on a dick move before?
Yeah, so many times, man.
Yeah, man,
So
that's
many
my favorite move. The first time I did it, it was so fucking scary. Oh my God, it felt like this big move, but like they react so good to that move. They like once they have that hand on over your jeans and your dick, they just like grip on it and they just go crazy.
Yeah.
It works
I mean,
so much. Like to girls, this is the move. Like to girls, I think like they like ballsy moves, and when you do
Yeah,
that, they're like, oh my god, like this is like almost like putting her on the knees or something. They just kind of fucking explode.
yeah, yeah. I've been, believe it or not, I've been actually doing that since like before I discovered Daygame, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
like
I was all.
escalating or being direct or telling a girl what the fuck to do um, was never really an issue. Like never really an issue.
Yeah, I was such a nice guy, man, before day game. Like I was like nice and gentle, and so I still like escalate. You know what's one thing like? I've had that one thing since I was a kid,
Yeah.
on and off, on and off, on and off. That's how I got laid. On and off, on and off. Just like you make out in the bed, she's like, no, no, no. Okay, like you turn away for like 10 minutes, and then you turn back, and you're like resume, and the next
Yep.
time you like kind of freeze out for longer, and then middle of the night it always worked middle of the night. Oh my god, because like then she's sleepy, her like, and she wakes up and she's fucking horny, and she forgot she forgot she said no before, and she's like she jumps on you. And
Indeed, indeed.
nice.
And
So how did that end?
then yeah, I pull out I take a hand and put it on my dick, and that always works for me accordingly. And yeah, I fucked her within like 10, 12 minutes, like because she had to leave. And no, but around the time when there's that awkward moment when you pull a girl's panties out, and yeah, you pull a girl's panties out and you get her naked, and you got your dick out, and that space between you screwing her and um you searching for a condom, that's like a really hesitant space where she might actually change her mind.
Oh yeah,
So
condoms have to be like so like in such a location that like fuck yeah.
yeah, so that was where I screwed up slightly. And when that moment came, she points out to the condoms kept on top of a particular drawer. She's like, yeah, over there, right there. I'm like, okay, this is a good sign, because it's more of like she knows what she's in for. I just
Of
grab another
course.
condom.
No, no, like she doesn't know. She thinks she's in for a gynecological exam. Like
Yeah.
by that
So
time she's pretty down to fuck if she let you take her panties off that
yep.
easily.
And the one helpful tip from you was mm, like around the time when me and her got a bit more passionate, etc. Then I told her, stand up, room your top off. Like I was not even asking, I was telling, and I was being extremely dominant. And yeah, she was complying, and that was really, really good. It made me feel really good,
All
like
right. I
okay,
wrote that in some blog post or something like
that
about
was on one of the
Russian
podcasts.
girl I banged in Prague, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then screwed her, and then obviously she's 18, she has to reach back home. So I was like, let me just drop her home. Like, let me just drop her to the metro station, walk her to the metro station. So yeah, which I
Okay.
should have.
Did you see her again?
Nope.
Did you text her?
I did text her when I came back from St. Petersburg, and she's like, I've got to study. She's a student. So sorry, can't meet you.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like,
Well, she did the things she wasn't proud maybe afterwards.
yeah,
That sometimes happens. Like most of the time you're fine, but sometimes they're like, "Oh, this was the crazy adventure. Oh my god."
yeah.
Okay, nice. So what happens after this big victory?
Then after this big victory, the next day I went to St. Petersburg. Around this time, I was gaming continuously for 6 days. So I was like quite fatigued, quite tired. So I was like, in St. Petersburg, I'm just going to relax. But I should have done the opposite. I should have spent the majority of my time in St. Petersburg and like 4 or 5 days in Moscow instead. But hey, you learn. And when I came back from St. Petersburg, an old an old lead whom I number closed on the second day when I reached Russia, she suddenly turns up out of the blue. Always got to do your part, like ping them every 48 to 72 hours, and somebody will turn up if your sets are good, like you know. And she agreed for like a date, and she's a Russian MILF, obviously. Now, while I was at the date, like she was searching for me. She parks her car and she was looking around for me, and she usually girls, they don't usually do this, where they come and hug you and touch your hands, like right from the start. She actually came and hugged me and she touched my hands. I'm like, oh, wow, that's a bit straightforward. Um, and you can see the spasm in the eyes, like sparkling eyes and all of that. So while we were at the date, like one glass in, immediately at the first venue, half an hour in the date, I get a gut feeling I can actually kiss closer, Let me just kiss closer. And I just lean in, and she herself leans in probably three-fourths of the way rather than me leaning most of the way, and we both
Yeah.
kiss. I'm like, okay, this is like a super on girl, and I try to bounce her home from there, um, because I thought that was the logical thing to do. Sometimes you just get a gut feeling that you need to bounce her home. Um, and she's like, no, I need to go to the mall to buy some panties. I'm like, oh, fucking hell. She takes me in a car to a nearby shopping mall to buy some panties. Now, if you've been day gaming for a while, this fucked up shit, these fucked up adventures will happen to you, like
Of
this.
course.
Yeah. So like, okay, I'll just come along, to be honest. And while she's driving, me and her constantly make out in the car. I go second base with her in the car. I try to finger her in the car. Um, she's like, no, no, no. But she parks the car and she changes the top, which is a bit weird, where I can see her in a bra. And then I try to go second base again, and she agrees. We go in the mall. Again, she's kissing me in the mall, leans in every now and then, holds my hand. I don't know if that's normal. Um, then she drops me home. And again, I try to bounce her to my place when she drops me home. But then she tells me, how about this? I will come to your place tomorrow at 9 a.m. in the morning. Now, if a girl makes a commitment like that, usually you know it's on.
No, no,
Um,
no, 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 no,
but
no.
you learn,
This,
you learn, you learn it the hard way.
you
I
learn it
learned
the
it.
hard way, yes. You think it's
Yeah.
on, but it's not.
I'm like, are you sure? Because I have to pay for like a day extra. Okay. So I said that shit, and she's like, yeah, I'm sure. I will come and see you. So next morning, I wake up at 7:30 a.m. Send her the location. She climbs in the metro. She climbs in the bus. But then 1 hour later, she sends me a video like, there's too much traffic. I'm going back to work. I'm like, son of a bitch. Are you serious?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like, I don't know if that classifies as a near miss. Apparently.
So there are several things from this girl. First of all, definitely over escalation in a public place. Yeah, that mean the old rule of only escalate, like only make out in a location where you can fuck. Because if you turn around, that's almost like crossing point of no return, even outside of the
Okay.
apartment. So I would have definitely kept anything in a car much more chilled out. If she's trying on those panties, maybe like try to fuck her in the changing room, even like, because if it's on, it's on. But like either fuck her in the changing room, or
Yeah.
just I would have kind of went a bit slower. Maybe did one more venue before trying to pull, but again, you felt you can pull, then okay, why not? It's always good to try. Um, when girls say they will come over and fuck the next time, it sometimes happens, but mostly it doesn't happen because they go home and they're like, oh my god, like this guy fingered me in the car, I barely know the guy. And so there is no plausible deniability for her. She knows we're gonna fuck, so she has to make the decision, and most girls will not be ready for that decision before going to your place. There will be exceptions, obviously, but in this case, it's kind of tricky. So, but then again, maybe she was coming, maybe it could have happened, and that would have been a sick story.
Yeah.
If it did, it would be a great story. Yeah, I mean, it sounds. Still, the important thing is you fucking had fun.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
That's
then
what matters.
there was another MILF whom I made out with, like a 27-year-old MILF. I don't know if that classifies as a MILF, but she
I
doesn't
don't
have a
know.
kid.
That's not. Actually, did she have kids?
No, but she was married, and
Yeah, it's not a milk. No, no, 27 is still,
yeah,
still.
so she was 27, and I followed the usual date model and bounced her to the second location, and Like now in the second location, I try to escalate by using a bit of kino, um, touching her neck, touching her hair. Um, she's like, stop it, but she doesn't really pull her hand away and always listen to her actions, not what the fuck she says, you know. So at this time, I was like, okay, I wait for like another 3, 4 minutes, and then I try to kiss closer, and then she pulls away. I tell her, as a man, it's my duty to try. As a woman, it's your duty to resist. I'll try in the next 5 minutes. So I pull my cell phone out in front of her, and I start the stopwatch for like 5 minutes, just as a joke, you know, just to keep it lighthearted and fluffy. Um, Try again 2 times. Nope. Then still okay. Then eventually she tells me she has to go back to work. I don't know if she was lying or something.
Yeah, you were over escalating with Russians. There's sometimes they need more time to open up. They
Yeah,
might be chatty, but it will be very tricky when you do something physical. And when they very often if you first start touching them and they kind of pull away, it's a sign that you need to give it more time. And by more time, I mean really like 20, 30 minutes more time before you maybe try again, because
yeah,
they might be crazy and fuck you fast, but they need that kind of, I don't know why they do that, but they do that. They need to appear like nice girls, and it has to take a bit more time. Whereas if you kind of try again and again and again, you try to kiss her, and then 5 minutes later again and again, she will just leave because she'll be like, okay, like this is too fast. And like if you played it slower, she probably would have been way more on. But again, it doesn't really matter. It was your first day gun trip.
yeah,
I think it's good to over escalate and do this too much while you're kind of going through your first day game trip and learning about day game in another country. I think it's better to over escalate than going too slow.
yeah.
So it's good.
And around this time, like in the second venue, she told me, you know, I haven't been out on a date in the past 12 years. Yeah, I'm like, holy shit, why the fuck haven't you been out on a date in like 12 years? And I'm like, are you dating someone? She's like, nope. I'm like, are you a lesbian? She's like, nope. Um, I'm like, you got kids? She's like, nope. Then she tells me I'm married and I'm almost about to get a divorce. And in the back of my head, I'm like, man, this is so awesome, because usually back in college, before I read the game, I used to be seen as the guy whom girls wanted to date in a long-term relationship. Now it's the script has been flipped, and I'm usually the guy whom girls want to cheat on with, you know. Now I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, this is awesome, you know. So yeah, and then when we exit the second menu, we wait for the cab. Then I try to I try to bounce her to my place. She's like, no, I'm not gonna come out. No, just like a firm no. Okay, fuck this. Because if she's told me no, 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 like a firm no, you'll come to know when a firm no is a no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, then you just go like, okay, let me just wait till the cab comes. Now, while I was waiting till the cab comes, I just hug her. While I hug her, I try to kiss her, and then she just turns away. But eventually, I just persist, and eventually, she just gives in and kisses me. Um, then I take her in an abandoned alley, and I have like heavy makeouts with her, kiss her neck, try to finger her and shit. And yeah, no resistance over there. But when I try to pull the trigger, oh my god, I gotta go. The cab has come. I'm like, fucking hell, are you serious?
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
well, still an
yeah.
adventure, man. It sounds like you had good times. So what did you see as the bigger differences between day game in Russia, in day game between day game in Moscow and St. Petersburg?
Um, Moscow is Moscow's uh, Moscow is a bit like New York, is a bit like London, etc. The LMR would be slightly less, whereas Saint Petersburg, the dating process, the dating process is a bit more. So you need to take things a bit more slower. That's what I can realistically say. Uh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What about day game between Dubai and day game between Russia? What differences did you see?
Mm, Dubai is usually pure money game. The girls are not friendly. The girls are not open. even though the sun is out. But yeah, the girls are not friendly. The girls are not open, and the gender ratio is a bit screwed up. So pretty much every good-looking girl whom you see, she's got a boyfriend. Most
Yeah,
of this is obviously me generalizing. I have screwed a couple of them over here, but it's hard to find single girls in Dubai, and it's always easier to game single girls than girls in a relationship. That's a general statement. But in Russia, um, like there's heavy volume. In Moscow, there's heavy volume. All over Russia, there's good volume. So it's a really, really good city to practice your game in. Um, you can do zillions of crash and burns and not feel guilty about it. You
yeah.
know? Yeah. Whereas in
So,
Dubai, like, yeah, tell me.
so when you met you met Russian girls, hot, beautiful Russian girls in Dubai, and hot Russian girls in Russia. How,
Yep.
if you're talking about the hot ones, how was the behavior different between these two countries?
The Russian girls in Russia are actually nice. They're actually humans. They're actually people. Um, whereas the Russian girls in Dubai, man, this is obviously me stereotyping, but usually Ukrainians and Russians, when they come to Dubai, they're usually sugar babies.
It's a
So,
country that is built on that, and
and if I don't blame them, if I was a beautiful girl, hell, I would do the same, you know.
yeah,
So
of course.
we have a game, they have their own game. So yeah, but usually that's the case in Dubai, usually, and it's hard to penetrate through that bitchy, princessy, sugar baby layer. But I think so. In December, before having coaching with you or something, like a day before a call with you, I banged a Ukrainian sugar baby, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so I was like, okay, if I can do it in Dubai, then I can definitely do it in Russia.
Of
And
course.
yeah, yeah.
Of course. Nice. So what's next on your plate?
Let's hope I make it to the secret location.
The
I'm glad
secret
I didn't.
location.
Um, then I would like to explore the Arab world. Things like
Oh yeah, you
Morocco.
were the guy who suggested going to Lebanon, right?
Yep, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
that is definitely an interesting idea. But yeah, so after your Moscow adventures, after you got laid there, we decided with guys that okay, Mr. Slim deserves an invite to our trips because
yeah,
we've been doing these trips. Like we did the first one in autumn of 2019, where me and a bunch of guys that I had coached before, we went to Belgrade in Serbia. It was my
yeah,
first ever long-term trip, and damn, that was fucking mental because we got destroyed by Serbian girls, but at the same time, we had the craziest adventures. Like I got laid, Mr. T got laid, and oh my god, like Mr. V, he isn't active in a chat now, but he used to be one of the first guys he was one of the first guys I coached. He went on a date with this 18-year-old girl who's the daughter of one of the most feared guys in Serbia. And
yeah.
she goes, so they go on a date, and that chick at one point says, by the way, I am the daughter of this and that. And just so that you know, it's better I tell you, I have like 5 bodyguards, and I don't know where they are. I never know, but like they are somewhere around us. They're making sure we're fine. They're making sure we're safe. And don't worry, you are safe. If something happens, like they will take care of you as well. So everything is okay. Don't worry.
Yeah.
That
And no,
was like,
most of the guys, man, like usually they fucking chicken out when shit like this happens, you know, like when the they meet the daughter of a most feared man. In fact, it's an opportunity to show your balls, you know.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was crazy. And we did this Mexico thing where we went for like three months. I mean, a bunch of guys, me, Mr. T, like Mario joined, Paulo went there, David came there for coaching. It was fucking sick. And they decided we have to do this more regularly.
yeah,
So in July, we're going on a trip to location. It's partially secret because we don't even know where we're going yet. It's either
yeah,
going to be, well, Russia is probably going to be closed, but in case it opens up, it might be Russia, it might be Ukraine, it might be Serbia, it might be Croatia. there are a bunch of options, but the other reason it will become secret is because, well, once too many guys show up, the city just becomes overgamed super fast. So we want to keep this secret. So we invited you to join us. We're a few guys joining, going. I'll take a few students with me there for day game coaching because I'm going there for a month. So if students come for more than just the coaching days, we'll spread out the coaching sessions with them.
Yeah.
So if anyone listening wants to join me, Mr. Slim, and a bunch of other kind of like the
Guys, before that, I would really like to give Robert like a shout out. To be honest, man, you never asked me for this, but this is strictly from my end. Um, you usually provide a lot of technical information, and most of the shows who don't really have their inner game sorted out, when they keep on doing the technical stuff correctly, their inner game will automatically be sorted out. His stuff is legit. Like Robert's stuff is legit. So just do listen to this guy's stuff, and yeah, like he genuinely wants to help out. Like he helped me out with like 2 calls, and my game has taken to another level. Um, and now it's come to the point where I'm doing things by myself. So yeah,
yeah.
like,
Thank you, man. Thank you, man. So if anyone believes Mr. Slim and believes it wasn't a paid shout out, join us
yeah,
for the fucking trip. Shoot me an email and yeah, Robert at saintrobert.blog, Robert at strobert.blog, and we'll talk details. Because I think that month is going to be fucking sick because it's summer, and in all of the countries that we have on as options, like the skirts are short, the tops are like, I mean, and chicks are fucking stunning. So I'm actually, I can't wait to go on this trip. Summer is when I day game. I really hate cold weather day game. I did it when I was starting out, but now I just go to warm locations. Fuck it.
yeah, yeah. But as a
Uh,
beginner, man, you don't need to give a fuck about the weather, man. Just put your head down and put in the work, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, dude, thank you for doing this. Thank you for sharing your story about your trip to
Yep.
Mother Russia. Mother Russia, something is definitely on my list. I hope to do it this year, either with the gang or if that doesn't work out with Russia, maybe other time.
Yep.
Well,
Right.
guys, thank you for listening, and bye, everyone.
Bye bye. Ciao.